You know what? We are really blessed. We have got a dear friend of Sono who has been coming for 4 years now. 3 years? 4 years? Thank you. And so Jennifer Siech is wonderful. She's been in the marketing field for 25 years, director of marketing for Cedar Valley Hospice in Waterloo, Iowa, for over 11 years. In that time, she's led her department and the organization in a complete rebranding and used cutting-edge ideas to engage staff and educate the public on the benefits of hospice care. Her team's efforts have played a large role in taking the organization from 8 years of significant losses to $500,000 in profit in just 4 years. Our friend, we're proud of you and your team, Jen Siech.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Well, when Seth asked me to do this, I'm like, oh, okay, what do I have to share? Because I know everybody has their own ideas on marketing, what's good, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And I said, we do things a little bit differently. And Seth is like, that's great, that's perfect. You absolutely need to speak. So I'm here to share what we have done as an executive team and management team at Cedar Valley Hospice. And to share our story, what we've done. And hopefully you can take a few nuggets out of what we've done and learn from it and implement it for yourselves. So we're gonna get our marketing groove on today. No, I don't have candy like Jamie did, but I need everybody to stand up, get that candy moving, so get up. We're gonna get our marketing groove on here. Don't make it any...
Timothy.
Big move it. Little Snoop Dogg. I know she was saying some Snoop Dogg jokes, but we need to get that candy moving in there, get that sugar going.
Yo, this small buddy, I could do whatever I wanna do. I get money and I guess
I promised my team that I wouldn't twerk up here, so yeah. So anyways, no, we're not gonna do it. So anyways. Okay, so, you can sit down. I just wanted everybody to make sure everybody was paying attention. So what is marketing? What's your idea of marketing? What's marketing? Go ahead, Mark. You were like...
It's everything. It is everything.
Anybody else? What's marketing? What's marketing mean to you? Yeah?
I say everybody's job.
Everybody's job. You're very right. Marketing is everybody in the organization's responsibility. And the sooner that we can help everybody understand that, the better off we will all be. So everybody's a marketer. So one question to ask your staff is, how do you contribute to marketing? I know that I meet with new employees for new employee orientation, and I always tell them, you got here because you fit into our culture. You are a part of what we're about, where we're going, and you are our best marketer. Our clinical staff we could put out, TV ads and newspaper ads and radio and do events and educational things, but one bad interaction with a patient or family, all that marketing is out the window. So our staff are the most important. The other thing is when you wear your logo, I know I had some people comment on my jacket, my logo wear. When you're wearing that logo, whether you're at work, you're running the grocery store after work, you're going at the gas station, wherever, you're still representing Cedar Valley Hospice or your organization. So they need to be mindful of that and keep that in mind as they go about their everyday lives. So a couple things to consider when marketing. You obviously need to consider your audience. I know everything we do, I always tell our marketing staff, okay, put yourself in the audience's shoes and how are you receiving that? Or is it understandable? Is it clear? You need to consider that message. Us in hospice, nobody wants to talk about hospice. Nobody wants to learn about hospice until there's a crisis. It's our responsibility as marketers to get them to learn about it before there's a crisis, so when there is, they think of us first thing. Make sure that your message is easy to understand, direct and to the point. Your advertising triggers that emotion and captures them quickly, so they're going to pay attention. You know, we do that with storylines, photos. I'm kind of a photo snob. When we use iStock photos or any photos that we use, it has to be what our look is. And I know that I've met in one-on-ones with Michaela, and she has mentioned that. She's like, it just looks like us. And so we have a look, we have a brand, and we stick to that brand. The other thing is events. All of our fundraising events have a marketing piece to it. So we're not only there to raise money, us being a nonprofit hospice, we also are there to educate people about who we are. We have a cool event, it's called Release and Remember. We've had it for about 10 years now. And you can donate $25 in honor and memory of a loved one, and we release 1,000 monarch butterflies. The first year, and then the patient's name can go on a dedication station, which it's kind of like a vet's wall. People will go up and point to their loved one's name and get their pictures taken. We've had entire families in front of it. We have children's activities. We have a free lunch. We have Release and Remember t-shirts. This is a picture of some of that. The first year we had probably about 500 people at this event. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen. The last time we had it, we had 2,500 people at this event. And this is something as a hospice that we're known for this event. So it's a positive thing. So it's not that doom and gloom of hospice. It's, oh, they're the ones that do Release and Remember. And so it's a positive thing in our community. So that's all marketing and that's all branding. So what else to consider is your website, reviewing your Google Analytics. Are there certain pages that are getting hits and others not? Just making sure that you're paying attention to that. Digital marketing, we have some retargeting ads, and we also do geofencing. Is anybody here familiar with geofencing? A few of you, okay. Geofencing is when you have certain places, like a mile radius targeted. We have the hospitals in our area, we have the clinics, we have the cancer centers, all targeted. So they get served one of our ads when they're in that area. So let's say they're in the waiting room and they've just received some bad news or they're looking for resources. They get on their phone and they're going to get served an ad from Cedar Valley Hospice and then get taken to our website and be able to access other information. So I feel like it's done a lot for us, and we get our reports back from that, so we're able to see who's clicked on it and where they've gone, how long they stayed there, and so it's very interesting. The other thing with 2020, I'm sure many of you have had the same experience, we relied a lot on videos. So part of our grief program is we do have a children's grief program, and since we weren't able to do the face-to-face, we helped the grief department create a Tree TV program, that's the logo for it. And that's our children's grief. So our youth coordinator would do the things that she would typically do face-to-face with those youth, read a book, do a children's activity, and those kids would be able to access from our YouTube channel or our website. And it's just another way to reach out. And the other thing is our grief services, you do not need to be on Cedar Valley Hospice or utilize our services to utilize our grief programming. So that's something that we're very committed to as a hospice organization. A lot of times if there's an emergency in a school or anywhere in the community, we're the first ones that they call. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to position ourselves as a resource, because the hardest thing to do is pick up the phone and call hospice. So we want them to get used to, we can call Cedar Valley Hospice and they can help us with that. It makes them more comfortable. We also utilize Facebook, LinkedIn, and also we've invested in research and a logo and branding refresh. So I'm just gonna go over our story. In 2016, this is what we looked like. Our average daily census, length of stay, patients served. Relationship building was very important to us. Education was very important. We did a few education events. We've done a physician education event for, 11 years now? We do that. We did a few CE events. As far as the other departments at Cedar Valley Hospice, they were pretty much doing their own thing. Marketing was not well respected, I would say. They would do their own materials, draft their own letters, send out photocopies of photocopies, which would be kittywampus and faded. And the great thing is at this time, we had a change of leadership. Our old executive director resigned. We were very fortunate to get Michaela in the door as an executive director. And we knew at that time we needed to take a look at some things. We were in a serious position and we needed to make some changes. And we sat down and we decided to, invest in ourselves and make some serious changes to change what we were doing. A little bit more of what we look like. That was our logo. It looked like a dying tree. We're a hospice. It might fit, but it wasn't good. This is what our staff look like, which they're great. We have a lot of those staff still with us, but our scrubs were the tan and black, and I think also a hunter green color. I know the tan one there, sometimes when you'd see somebody walking across the parking lot in tan scrubs, you would do a double take because they look naked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to do something with this. The other thing is our mission statement. It was a bunch of words that nobody remembered, and it really focused on us more than the patients and families that we served. And then I'm super embarrassed to show you our website. I did not do this, but it was there when I came, and it's really ugly, and we needed to change it. So like I said, at that point in time, Michaela was like, "Yep, let's do it. We're gonna invest in some market research." We did that we started doing interviews in 2016 and started the research at the end of 16 and finished up research I think it was December 31st at the end of the year. So then in 2017, we started our brand journey. We looked at the research, we started making decisions about what we found during that time. We knew that relationship building was still going to be one of the most important things to us. We talked about today relationships with our vendors, relationships with our referral providers, relationship with community people. All that was important. We have relationships in the communities. I'm part of the chambers. Michaela's a part of a CEO lean-in group. Those relationships outside are important to your success. Let's see. We also rated our facilities, A, B, and C. We took a look at the facilities that were giving us the most referrals, and we focused on those ones more than the others. So, and when we go out to the facilities, we're not hard sell type. We don't go out and see them every week or see them every other week. When we go out, we're providing them either recognition for nurses home week or doctor's day or nurses week, and or this is during COVID, we went out and brought them goodie bags, and on the tag it said, "You are appreciated." And I know when Karen went out and delivered those, our partners had like tears in their eyes because they were so ecstatic that we remembered them and knew they were going through a difficult time, even though we were going through a difficult time too. But that's building that relationship. Education, we really focused on more education. So we want to make sure that we're providing education in all of our site areas. We're providing brand recognition, consistent messaging, a mixture of digital advertising and traditional, and your language creates your future. One of the things that we found from our research is that what was most important to the people that were seeking out hospice services. And it wasn't that we had been in the community for the longest. It wasn't that we were a nonprofit. It wasn't that we were the first ones in the area. They wanted the best. They wanted the experts to care for their loved ones. And so we started changing our language. It wasn't, choose us. It's let the experts care for you and call sooner. And so we started using that language, and we would see, as an executive team, then the management started using it. And then the staff, we would see them start using it. And then they started believing it. And so when they start believing that they're the experts in hospice care, it directly affects the care they're providing through the patients and families. And then we talked a little bit earlier when Katie was talking about we made a conscious effort to enhance our culture. We know that caring for our staff is so important because if they're cared for, they're going to provide the best care. And then together, we created a new mission statement with staff. We brought in Dr. Bill Withers, who was a professor up in our area, and he facilitated a staff meeting where we were numbered off and put into groups. And we were told to come up with a new mission statement for Cedar Valley Hospice. And so everybody was throwing out words and phrases, and then they would get up and report it. And one of the coolest things is how similar all those mission statements were. So we had that culture going. People knew who we were. We knew we were going in the right direction. And to this day, staff say that that's one of the coolest things that we've ever done as an organization. And so we have that mission statement posted in our offices, and a lot of people have them posted at their desks. So here is a slide of what our old mission statement was and what our new mission statement was. So one of the most important things to us is knowledge, respect, and compassionate care, and those are directly reflected in our mission. Here's a picture of a side-by-side of our new logo and our old logo. One of the things that we also found in our brand research is that our logo was very recognizable, so we did not want to do a complete change. But as you can see, our tree is alive and well, and we have a fresh green color, and we changed up the fonts. And then also our tagline is something that we left the same because we felt strongly, we looked at some different ones, threw some things around, but ultimately we really felt connected to that, and so we wanted to keep it. The other thing that we did with when we went through the brand change is we came up with some approved colors, a palette that we have for our marketing. We have the Cedar Valley Hospice green, and then we have the other colors that are approved for our logo wear. So all of our staff are required to wear clothing that is logoed in those colors. This did not go over fantastic initially. This was something that when we brought in Andrew Reed to train us on the model visit, that was one of the things that we kind of pulled from him, and we're like, what would Andrew say? And I remember us sitting in the room and we're like, he would say go green, and we're like, okay, we're doing it. So we decided that our scrubs would be green, and then we would go with the logo wear. And I remember to this day too that we were at a staff meeting and one of our staff stood up, and this was probably 6 months after we implemented this. And I think we had won best of the best or something we were celebrating. And she's like, I have to admit that I hated this when we went to this, but I think it's one of the best things we ever did it as an organization. And we're just like, yay, we did something right. So this card there, this is actually a wallet card that we made. So that's the top is the front and the bottom is the back. So men can stick it in their wallets or women can stick it in their purse. So when they're out shopping, they can match the colors to clothing that they have in the store. We tell them to keep the tags on. They can send it in and get logoed, or else we also have brand shops that people can go online shopping and buy logo wear that way. Here's a picture of our logos before and after, and I would say that the after looks much better than the before. Here's also a sample ad that we have. What I had said earlier, we focus on the things that matter most to the patients and families and evoking that emotion. So this is an example of one of the pictures that we use, and it's a story about Lily and Roger. Lily is so grateful Roger gets to stay at home. As a primary caregiver, Lily struggled to care for her husband at home, even with help from family and friends. She called Cedar Valley Hospice. Thanks to their care team, Roger now has expert care in the home, support and education for Lily, the benefits of hospice services covered by Medicare, Medicaid, and most private insurances. We're still finding that people don't understand how hospice is paid for, that where do I go when I'm on hospice? So we're answering all these questions in a storyline that many people are familiar with. Here's also a picture of our new website. We didn't do a whole website redesign. It was just a brand refresh. So the navigation all stayed the same, but our colors changed. So I think it turned out much better than it was. So taking it to the next level, like I said before, we're focusing on education, building relationships, and that community involvement. We're working closely with staff. Like Katie says, we have an employee engagement committee that we have created, and actually 2 of the members of the marketing team are on that committee. So they do a lot to help with that and participate in that. I think that also helps build those relationships between marketing and the clinical staff when they're a part of that. And we also brought our brand awareness to our space. Here you can see our mission statement is on the wall in our old boardroom. Another cool thing that Michaela had done a couple years ago is involve the entire staff in our strategic planning. So we came up with a plan, and then as part of our personal goals, each member of our staff had a personal goal that directly related to the strategic plan, and they were all on committees. It was really neat because, first of all, they got to meet some of their other coworkers that they typically wouldn't, and they also got to see things from a different perspective, and they felt like they were doing something to move Cedar Valley Hospice forward. And that's another one of the things that we implemented that I think staff were ecstatic about and so excited about having a piece in, moving us to the next level. And the other thing is be a brand stickler. I am a brand stickler, and people roll their eyes at me, and I've been called a micromanager, which I'm not. I'm really not. But you need to hold steady to that brand, because that brand is who you are as an organization, and it matters. So here's some numbers just to go over the numbers with you. The bottom green part is the home-based patient served, the middle is the assisted living, and the top is the nursing home patients. So if you look at this in 2016 when we started, it steadily went up, and then we saw a huge increase in 2020. I know I was reading a lot of hospice news and emails, and a lot of hospices saw a big decline in 2020, and that was not our experience. And we directly correspond that to the relationships that we built in the community with those physicians, because they trusted us to be their eyes and ears and care for those patients in their home. And here's a projection that Michaela and Tracy helped me with for this year. So we're looking to be even higher this year. And then just reviewing average daily census and length of stay. As you can see, this year is going pretty well, and we're super excited about our average length of stay being 86.7. And this is a pretty eye-opening slide. As you can see, it has the 0 line, so that's your break-even point. For several years, we were significantly below the line. And like I said, we knew that we needed to make some pretty tough changes. And we did. And those weren't easy times, and we're continuing to work and fight through it. But we are ecstatic at where we are now, and we're continuing to move forward. So what have we learned? Relationships are still the most important. The brand work. One thing that we've noticed is other organizations in our area have noticed us. I know we've gotten a lot of questions about what are you guys doing? What's Cedar Valley Hospice have going on over there? And then we've watched them follow suit, and we see a lot of our brand palette colors all over the place, which is not great. But research is important, messaging matters, and key players involved in that process was so important. It wasn't just myself and the marketing team going through the research and working with the agency. It was the entire executive team. And I knew up front that if they weren't all involved in that process, they weren't getting the backstory to why we were making those changes. And it was important that they heard that all. So as we went through the implementation, they were able to answer questions and help staff adjust and accept what we were doing, because we needed to make a lot of changes. So what's working for us, we implemented. We moved through the whole process. We positioned our team as the experts, engaged staff. We were a valuable resource in the community, and we continued to work towards that. And we encourage people to contact us with their questions and concerns sooner and at any time, so they're not afraid to reach out. And in summary, I always say hospice isn't sexy and exciting, and my team told me not to say that, but I just said it. So they told me, say flashy and exciting. You know, it's not anything that people want to pay attention to, and it's our job to get them to pay attention to it. And we need to educate them before they need us. So to remember to get your marketing groove on and be a brand stickler. So that's all I got. Whoop.
Years old. I've got this microphone because now she's going to cut hers off so we can use this one. We've got questions, correct? Because I've got 2 or 3. But who wants to go first? Thank you.
It's just more of an operational, I guess, kind of HR question. Do you guys give your staff a clothing stipend for the branding? Yeah. And it was interesting to me. I've never seen such a variety of colors. Yeah, that really stuck with me. It's something that I had written down because I'm pretty tight with what our colors are. But I was wondering about the stipend, if you guys did that.
We decided to go with a wider variety of colors because we knew we wanted to have a branded color palette that they would wear with clothing, and this gives them more options. But it also doesn't seem like a lot now that we have it. I mean, people know who we are. They see the logo, and it works for us. I don't remember, how much was our stipend?
So our approach to the stipend was we used to provide 3 sets of scrubs, for example, for a full-time clinical staff member. So what we did is we looked at how much money are we spending to do the 3 sets of scrubs. And then we decided to give that same amount to the staff that are non-clinical to help them purchase that, so a stipend for the clothing. So, for example, I think it's $150 or something, but people can bring in things out of their own closet and get a logo put on for $6. So it's pretty affordable. They can get a lot of items for that. People just have to use whatever preference they have. Some people have different brands or things they like best, but you can get it at a store, you can do whatever, but about $150 I think is what they get for full-time. Yeah, for non-clinical. And then for clinical staff, that's about what we spend for the scrubs they get as well.
You said that marketing involves everyone. And you're a not-for-profit. How do you all engage your board in helping you all market to the community?
That's been a process. I think the first thing would be that we have to find people to get on our board that are engaged. I don't know, Michaela, do you want to talk a little bit more to this?
Yeah, I think finding first people that are engaged and that want to tell the story of the organization. But then one thing that we do monthly is provide snippets of education. So we'll take one particular topic that we know people ask frequently. So for example, how do you go to the hospice home? How do you get there? Can anybody go there? And we'll take 10 minutes and answer that question so the board members know how to answer that out in the community. And then we bring in a staff member each month for Making Each Moment Matter minute. And they talk about their job and what they do at their job so that board members can understand more accurately what does a social worker do at Cedar Valley Hospice, so they can help to it's tough when you have a community board. Yeah, but they also can purchase our branded clothing, as can our volunteers, and so some of the board members do that as well.
Yeah, and when our entire executive team will report at the board meetings, and when I have to my not speech, but when I'm talking to them, I'll say, if be sure to like us on Facebook and share things that we're posting and do this and do that. And I just flat out ask them to help with it. And I mean, it depends on who it is on the board and who you have on the board, but it's all about getting people that really care and have a connection to hospice, and then they can help.
Anybody other? Because I got another one. If y'all haven't seen their butterfly release, is that posted on your website or YouTube or where do we? That it's incredibly impressive. But where do you buy or get? How does that work? Or don't tell it if it's a secret.
Yeah. Well, you have to, and I'm not the one that does all the purchasing for that or organizing of that, but you have to buy butterflies on this, whatever side of the continental divide you are, because those butterflies that are raised there know where to migrate to. So it's a thing. I mean, they come in little envelopes and we transfer them on ice. Yeah. No, they're full butterflies. Yeah.
So you don't get the North Carolina butterflies.
No. Yeah. But I mean, it is a neat process. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did anybody else not know that? Because I certainly have never.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to be licensed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Licensed. USDA licensed, yeah. And I believe we have on our YouTube page, this year we had to do it virtually. So we had a local news anchor come and it's done in an amphitheater in our area. And typically it's full of people. And so this year we're like, we're still going to do it. We want to be as normal as possible. And so we still held the butterfly release in an empty amphitheater. And we had a videographer that we work with, great partner of ours, had his drone, shot the video, and it's super emotional. And you can watch that on our YouTube page too. But it turned out fantastic. Yeah, Maddie Poppy. I went to high school with her mom, so she came and she sang as we released the butterflies, and it's neat. It gives you goosebumps.
How did you sell the clothing and the brand? How, I know you said it was tough in the beginning, but what was
the initial launch?
Yes. How did that go?
Do you remember? I know that we talked about it at a staff meeting, but I think I let Michaela do that.
Yeah, we did talk about it first at a staff meeting. And then I hold regular meetings with our staff at all of our locations. And so then we talked about it again at those smaller meetings where people have a little bit more chance to be more open about how they felt about it. And so where we could answer questions. And I think our message was, we're sticking to this because this is important for the organization. And I understand that you may not love it. You may not love the color orange. You don't have to wear it, but the other colors you do. Like, we just tried to be very non-confrontational. This is where we're going because we're a team. We want the community to know we're a team, and this is what we need to do. Just that simple.
My husband sells athletic equipment, and he related it to, okay, if you're on a Friday night and you're watching a football game and everybody runs out there in a red jersey and you have one person run out there in a white jersey, what's that look like? So we're wearing the team colors. We're one team. We're wearing a logo, and that's who we are as an organization. So it's just, again, I think it was part of having the entire executive team on board and, having those conversations with people that might have been not so excited about it.
We also gave them quite a long leeway into it, knowing like this, this is the date. Sorry. We gave them quite a long leeway into it, a heads up, this is the date that you're going to have to start wearing logo wear to work. It was a hard stop. And it was kind of interesting because people had the opportunity to purchase things prior to that, and they did, and they started wearing it to work way before the deadline, so to speak.
5 or 6 months.
Yeah, it was quite a long time.
Planned it out pretty early. Give them time.
And there's a lot of variation, as you can see. I mean, this.
Michaela's wearing snake print.
I mean,
It's black and white, though.
I love what you talked about with the facility recognition. What was Can you tell me more about what was in the little care baskets?
Yeah, so in the little baskets that we have, they're logoed Cedar Valley Hospice baskets, and we put a little card on it, said we appreciate you, and it was like an energy boost. So I think it had some snacks in there for that one, and probably some premiums that we attached to it also. But I think it was mainly food, because at that point in time, you know, they were working nonstop, and the hospitals were full, and the facilities were on lockdown, and we couldn't go into the facilities. But Karen would call them and say, "Hey, I'm outside. I have something for you," and they would meet her outside, and they'd just be like, a lot of times they'd look out the window and be like, you know, tapping their heart, saying thank you so much, and we saw tears, and it was neat. So
during COVID, were your staff allowed to go into the SNFs? Because you were able to still maintain and grow, it looked like in your slide. So were nursing and clinical able to go in and see that? How did you continue that growth with them having restrictions?
We weren't able to go in a lot of them.
We were able to go into a lot of them, but we minimized our visits to like once every 14 days with a lot of contact in between. We did do some telehealth on some occasions for the people. We had a few that were absolutely wouldn't let anybody in. And then they would only let nurses in for quite a long time. But a lot of our growth was in home patients.
They wouldn't let marketing staff in though. So yeah, that was one of the things that I thought was very interesting because of our significant growth in 2020. And we talked about that a lot. You know, how come we're seeing all this growth? But it was a lot of things that we did. It was the employee engagement. It was the marketing and branding. It's the relationships we've built. And I feel like all that, it was a timing thing. And, you know, at that point in time, we had those relationships built, and they trusted us, and we got the referrals that way.
I have one more question. Thank you. It looks to me like you took the bones. You got a question too? Okay, it looks like you took the bones of the tree, for example, and just tweaked it. You used the tagline and retained it. You took your website and just reskinned it, basically. It didn't take a whole lot of money to do what you did. Compared, it wasn't a big, giant revamping marketing campaign. Did you primarily drive that? Did y'all use a firm? How did you navigate this? Thank you.
We used a firm for the research and for the logo development and for the initial campaign. And then we have an on-staff graphic designer, and we took it from there. So, yeah.
Wait. So, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? It's impressive. One of the things, this is an observation, that y'all have leaders evidently still at Cedar Valley, because a lot of your senior leaders are here together. There's a lot of you here, and your folks aren't missing a beat. So bravo. Right? We do have great people. You must. Mm-hmm. Jen, thank you for this. This has meant the world. All right, let's just give her a round of applause.